Okay. Hi, Ross. How you going?
Yeah, excellent, Pato. Good to see you again in this format.
Yeah. Congratulations on your win. It must be over a week ago now, right?
Uh, yeah, I think we are. It was, I think we started on Saturday the 5th, finishing on Monday the afternoon, Monday the 7th, I think it would have been. So, yeah, that's now the Tuesday. So, yes, definitely a week over. And that's it. Reality's kicked in. That's unfortunately it's been and done, but it was a great weekend. And yes, we're still reliving it with catching up with people, work friends, and that sort of stuff as well, and still getting the chance to relive it. So it's yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Time goes fast. I do have a few questions before we get into Sydney's, because last time you were on, you just finished as the last one standing at MVP, and after that, you backed up a few months later at Dead Cow Gully, right?
Correct. I think it was a few of us from MVP, yourself, that made the trek up to Queensland, which was pretty good. It was very good. It was good. It was part of the learning curve, I suppose. Obviously, since then, yet again, I think there's been a few of us that made that trip that heard Tim say it was going to be cold at night, but didn't quite understand what cold at night meant.
Yeah.
So I put myself in that basket. I got through the first night. I was struggling to keep warm that first night. And then we got through that. That was okay. Did the second day, and I got towards the end of it, and I suppose that was the element of doubt in my mind, and that was probably obviously the weakness, because then I thought, oh, if I don't get through the second night and I'm out in Menango, there's not going to be anywhere open. I'm not going to get warm. I'm not going to get food, and I didn't have any crew on that one as well. So I rolled over. Unfortunately, I also had the excuse. So that's what happened. Then the excuse in my mind was I'm going away to UK as well in like whatever it was, a month or so after that, and I just didn't want to cause myself any dramas health wise, which probably wouldn't have been the case. That was just a good excuse in the mind, really. But yeah. So I finished on 35 at Dead Cow, and I ran that last lap pretty hard. I knew I had, I was still in good nick. I knew I had more in the tank, and I sort of probably came away from that just, okay, I need to go around again. I've got unfinished business to sort of really, and this is the ultimate goal. It's like, what am I capable of? So that, I still wanted to go and achieve something to find or get edge closer to finding that out.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned you were at Dead Cow Gully without a crew. When that race finished, did you say to yourself, okay, that's it. I'm not going to, from now on, I will make sure I have a crew with me when I do these races?
I was definitely, I was hopeful of, yes, I definitely was. I did come back a couple of weeks, like, what do you do? Like, just ask us, and I'm like, oh, yeah, but you guys aren't runners, and I didn't expect, to come and do this here. Just let us know when you do it. We'll, like, between us, we'll sort it out. We'll get you going. So, and then that's it. So the two events I've done this year, I have been crewed as well. So, it makes a hell of a difference. I thought I was going all right. Oh, look, I was going all right. I did 35 hours and I didn't have a crew.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know those afternoon hours, like I was coming in as usual, like it was around the 45 minutes, and then every hour the sun had moved. So I had to like move my drinks, move my esky, move this, and then all this stuff was getting warm. And that's it. You go and run again, come back again, move into the shade again. So you're concentrating on other things other than nutrition and the things you need to be doing. It's an added layer of difficulty on the hour.
Yeah. I remember the first night you were sharing a marquee with Phil Ryan and also a bloke called Ross Toms, I think. And on that first night, you fell asleep and you almost missed the start of it.
You have got a good memory. Yeah, I think it was like lap 18.
Mm.
I was dead to the world. So that is probably one of my superpowers. That I can sleep at these events, no problems. If I close the eyes, they'll go. And I did do that, and then I got the tap on the shoulder like with 1 minute, and just Jesus Christ, like what? Didn't know where I was. Yeah, I was probably most surprised. I'm like, shit, right, trying to find a headlamp, and I'm coming in and I'm just dropping stuff everywhere, and I was trying to find it, and so it almost finished very early. It was around hour 18 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, so your next backyard ultra was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 months later at Mirrim Wurnit. And the weather made that one like running through hell for me, and it was pretty tough for everyone else, I think. And that was a silver ticket race. So is that what attracted you to the race, the silver ticket?
Yeah, that was one of the, I suppose, yeah. Look, for all you look at the options that are out there on the calendar, that one aligned, I could do that. Okay, it was a long weekend as well, so it's got a good time. And that was part of the, if you're going to do one and you could actually have that option to do a silver ticket, then, why not throw your hat in the ring and be part of it. As for the event, yeah, that was an eye opener. That was something else that weekend. Mind you, in saying that, I probably ticked a lot of the boxes that I wanted to tick as a backyard ultra runner. I actually got to tick a lot of those boxes at that event, and I didn't have to do 50 or 60 hours to do it. I got to do it in 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So, I think it was early doors. It was within like the third hour. Like, I'm normally probably at the front just with my natural pace, but I'd pulled back and I had a couple of people going, "You all right? You're all right?" Like, yeah, I know it's hot and I know I needed to slow down. So I was able to make that conscious effort. I think it started like, 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So it didn't take too long. It was still through the afternoon. I got through, and then I was coming in at 58 and like 59. And that's it. The crew were great. Like, they had all the gear ready. And I think I was running with a vest then. And it was literally like ripping the bladders out, pushing the bladders in, jamming something in the hand. Right, okay, yep, here you go. Like, trying to put some ice on me, trying to cool down, and then like, right, up, go, kept going. So, I ticked that box, and I think I did like 4, even maybe 5 of those laps at, really quick turnarounds. And I've always thought that would be part of the challenge to keep running. Nutrition was like next to zero on that. I think it was just so intent on trying to get hydration and trying to cool down that I shelved eating, or I didn't think about it. I'm not too sure. And then I think when I tried to eat, that was it. It was just, that came straight back out. And then I'm like, all right, well, and I ran through that as well. So I'm like, all right, well, these are the sorts of things I expect to get to if I can get to deeper numbers. And I've had to go through them, and I went through them successfully. So ultimately, I took actually for my lowest number of hours, I actually took a hell of a lot out of that. And I sort of, probably post, you think about it, and I came out with, I'm like, I can do that in 40-degree heat. Like, you give me a good event, I'm going to do some good shit. I had that self-belief. I'm like, right, I need something now. The planets online give me like a mid-20s like I had in Sydney. I'm like, this is game on. Like, I'm prepared to go down in flames trying to get myself to the maximum.
Yeah, I remember at Mirrim Wurnit, I came down, and because I'd finished well and truly way before you, I came and watched you at one of your pit stops, and your crew, they were really good for their first time crewing. They were like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, they were. That's yeah. So had Leanne and my mate Millsy and my daughter Eve. So I know that was a tough one for Eve. Sort of, she's a backyard ultra fan, and that was a tough one for her because I think she was worried I was going to knock out early, and I think she was actually worried for me about that I would be disappointed. But look, ultimately, like I said, I got through that, and I was really happy. But as happy as I could have been with those circumstances, with what I got out of that.
Yeah. What was it? The heat that got you in the end at that one?
I think the heat. Then the heat meant that I wasn't eating, or because I was then trying to concentrate hydration. Then the nutrition was out the window, and I think it was that was like the 3 o'clock in the morning, the night lap. I couldn't even muster a run. So yeah, I did. That was just timed out on the road loop and walking back down the hill.
Yeah. So you did 15 yards, which wasn't half of your PB, but given how tough the race was, did you rank it as an equal or even better performance than the one at Dead Cow Gully?
Oh, look, I don't know if I weighed it up. That's an interesting question, because I don't think I weighed it up as per se, but I probably got more out of it. Dead Cow was pretty good conditions. Like I said, I was moving my own camp, but it was good conditions. It was and that was back to Mirrim Wurnit. Like what he did, Cal's pretty minimal elevation, and Mirrim was like, is that 160 or something? And that's like those fields are not they are not that conducive to running those fields either. That is like, I don't know that I'm ever going to come across another backyard as tough as, let alone the temperature, but just that's a hell of a course.
Yeah. And I mean, and that race has proven to be like one of the best form backyard ultras there's been. Joel's come out of it and gone berserk and done 58 yards. Matt Doobie's come out and run a PB. You've come out and run a PB since. I've run a PB as well. So watching all these people coming out and running PBs, it must have given you some pretty a lot of confidence going into Sydney's that you'd be able to go berserk and have a good race.
Yeah, correct. Like particularly Joel, like he's gone on in leaps and bounds since his MVP win, and so and I think whatever I won it in, whatever the company is, it was a similar amount of laps, and just the way he's gone, and then okay, well, why not me? That's it. Give me the opportunity, and why not? Have it, that's it. Like you said, it's when you track the other people you run against and you see what they're doing, you sort of think, okay, that's good. If they're improving and I'm improving, then when I get my chance on the, to go round, let's look for good things.
Yeah. So when did you decide to run at Sydney's?
I think it was around April. I think I sort of looked. I hadn't entered for a while. That would have been in March, wasn't it? We had the one in March, so I probably waited a little bit. Maybe it was around April, and thought, okay, well, what's going to be on for the rest of the year? So I think the couple of Victorian ones didn't really sort of line up with my calendar. So ultimately, Sydney did, and I thought, what, let's make it a bit of a road trip and head up there and have a dabble.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned to me that you had chosen to run at Sydney's, and I remember it was around June that they announced that they were putting up a 10 grand prize for the last female and last man standing. So you actually signed up before there was that prize money announced. So when you heard that announcement, did it change how seriously you were approaching the race?
No, not so much so seriously, because okay, don't get me wrong, like $10,000, and it's an amazing prize. There's no doubt about it. There's no ifs, no buts. But ultimately, I was entering to get. I want to max out.
Yeah,
that is still what I want to do. It's a great added bonus. Where do I stand on that? Because I know you've asked other people. It's a good question. I just hope prize money doesn't come at the cost of events, because the money's got to come from somewhere. There's a finite amount of people entering and the cost. So I'm by no means a business person, so I don't know. So I'm sure the 180 Cadence boys know what they're doing. So I'm more than happy to take that, but that's where I stand on it. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So I know you're not on Strava, so I don't really know what your running weeks look like. So on average, how many Ks are you doing a week, and about how much elevation, just on a normal week?
It's pretty much, I will between 80 to 90 a week.
Yeah.
I'll do Monday to Fridays 10K before work. So I get up at 20 past 4 pretty much. That's the routine. Get that done. The weekends, if I'm depending on how I feel as well, but it's either once a week or twice a week up in the hills. I can't remember when it was. Probably not long after I signed up for Sydney. I signed up for the Hardcore Harry's race, which is in November. We'll see how smart a move that was real soon. But I've sort of been chasing more elevation, in particular for that event. But then I'm sort of mindful that me hiking those hills is good for the legs anyway. So I think my backyard running benefits from, just going and hiking up and down the hills. And that's probably been the predominant training for the last couple of months, was to get up there at least once a week. I've got one hill that's a bit over a K, and it's got about 200 plus meters of elevation in it. and I will hike that hill and run down monotonously. So it's it's not too dissimilar to a backyard ultra and keep doing the same thing, and just it's part of the repetition, but it's finding peace in that repetition as well.
Yeah, definitely. And about, do you track how much elevation you're doing a week?
If I did that, I was trying to get around the 15 to 2,000 meters when I would do that in like one hit of that weekend. Just try and go hard, get all that done.
Yeah, cool. Because it's definitely something I've noticed is that runners who do really well in backyard ultras, they generally have a lot of elevation in their training weeks.
Yeah. I think particularly if you're hiking it, like, I'm trying to find a reasonable hill that's steep enough that I can't run it. But yeah, so you're hiking it anyway. So I think it's a little bit less wear and tear. Not so much coming down the hill, obviously, a little bit banged up. But at least, running up, or not running up, you're hiking up. So it's a little bit less wear and tear anywhere, I suppose.
Yeah. And in your training block leading up to Sydney's, did you increase the amount of running you were doing, or was it did you just keep it standard?
No, that's it. That's pretty much what I can fit in around work and everything else going on with life. So, that's it. 80 to 90 pretty much.
Yeah. We did share a few messages in the days leading up to the race. And you sounded confident you would do well. Did that confidence come from as a result of just feeling really good physically and having a good training block leading into the race?
This is the most prepared I'd ever been. There was the training I was really confident in. Like I think if sometimes I used to flip flop between afternoons and mornings, and I just locked it in for a couple of months. So I'm just getting up in the morning, so I don't miss any afternoons for whatever reason. So I had that really good solid block with the hills. This is the first time I actually spoke to a dietitian. I'd pieced together a plan myself based on what I'd done previously, and just got the input of a dietitian to actually sort of run their eye over it and make sure, what I was targeting, and come up with alternate ideas as well to food. And so I actually had that in place as well. And then, like I said, coming off the back of Mirrim, I was like, okay, I don't know that there's too many other boxes I could tick. I had the crew, I had diet, I had a plan, I had, you name it. It was in the back of the ute when we drove up there on Thursday. And I was confident. I wouldn't be confident enough to say that I was hopeful that I could win. I've actually got that. So I think it's sort of come to mind. So I know, I had all the physical training, and then I had been thinking about it mentally. And then that last week, I remember you spoke to Matt Doob, and then he was talking about the second night, and I'm like, yeah, geez, I haven't actually got through that second night, and that's something I'd been aiming for, much like yourself, to have that second night. And I'm like, I just need to show that a bit of respect. Just don't think you're just going to rock up and just run all night for a second night. So I sort of, I just mentally be prepared. Okay, that's going to be a bit tougher on that second night to do that. So, and then. So there was probably there's a little niggle of doubt in the back of my mind after listening to that. But then, okay, I sort of thought, you prepare for it though. Just that's the challenge. So just start thinking about it and be prepared. That's what you can do. And then I know during that week, I think it was too, like on Instagram, and Cindy put out a post, and the potential, the names or whatever, and then. I think Barry was on there, and I think you'd messaged me previously as to sort of say that Barry was doing it and he'd done 57 before, which I was pretty excited about, because I'm like, right, well, I know he's there, and if he's done that, he'll do that again. So this is a good chance that we can go that far. And then also Steve Redfern was in. I'm like, Jesus Christ, is there a runner that hasn't done anything more than Steve Redfern? I'm like, okay, that's right. Well, okay, he's done the Transcendence, which is 3,100 miles over around a block or whatever, and whatever else he's done. Tried Barclays as well. But I'm like, okay, right, well, if you're gonna need to run against these people, so this is great. Like, this is what I wanted. Yeah. It probably just made me a little bit probably scared at the start, and then go, all right, well, again, back yourself in. You've done everything that you can do. You've got a really good, you've got everything in place. So just back yourself in. Give it a crack. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, yeah. And can you tell me a little bit more about your crew?
Yeah, so I had at Mirrim, I had Leanne, who's my partner, and Eve, my daughter, and I had a mate Millsy, who's he's a very good crewing sort of guy. He just gets in there and he will just make shit happen. But in Sydney, we had Leanne and Eve came along we all drove up on the Thursday, and then you'd also hooked us up with Clayton, who came in and out as well for a bit of camp. He's obviously Sydney based. So he came in and gave us a bit of a chop out at times as well.
Yeah, cool. And what was the planning like? Did you write up a plan for your crew to follow, like a loop by loop kind of thing?
Correct. Yeah. So I had I had 4 pages, but it was basically the same thing copied. So and to be truthful, it turned out to be a bit more of a guide. You're aware, you're going to have. It's great to say at 10 o'clock in the morning you're going to have a pike up with jam, and then you look at it and it's like, oh, that's not going in. Like, so, and then they were really flexible. Like, okay, right, well, and then it was a matter of going, well, you're due to have this next lap. And I'm like, oh, what's after that? So, all right, well, let's go that. Let's just skip it. So it was sort of, I'd say it turned into a bit of a guide for the actual, I sort of had a list for meals by camp. And I knew each lap I was taking either out of baby food or a gel or lollies. And then it was the tailwind for every lap as well. Then plus whatever else I drank at camp as well. So yeah, that was sort of, I had a list of food for every camp stop. There was only 3 things that I was going to take out basically on each lap. And obviously you want it to be small and easy enough to carry and digest in as well. So and that probably gave me the confidence that I actually followed through. Like other times, I definitely haven't eaten during laps previously. I might have taken a random gel, but this was like every time I hit that food in. And so, yeah, energy levels stayed really consistent all weekend.
Yeah, good. Because Leanne and I were messaging a little bit while you were running. I got the impression it might have been towards the second night. She seemed a little bit concerned that you weren't eating enough.
That possibly was. I know a couple of times I'm trying to remember, I can't remember the exact timing. I know a couple of times I'm like, I came in, I was tired. I'm like, don't worry about food, I'm sleeping. And I just had to I said, wake me at 57 and I'll have something to eat then.
Yeah.
And I'll probably I know there were probably a couple of times when I might have been down to have a bit more and I might have had a bite or two of something. But again, it's sort of like, look, it's okay. Like I've drunk, again, I've had the tailwind, I've had the thing on the lap, and I've had a drink of whatever. So I'm sort of still hitting the same calorie mark that I was after. Yeah. So I wasn't too phased if it dipped a little bit because I know on other times I had like a substantial wrap or something like that on other laps. So I'm sort of like, all right, look, a little bit up and down here or there, but generally speaking, it was pretty consistent.
Yeah, very good. And it looked like it was a pretty warm race as well. So did your Mirrim Wurnit experience give you some extra strategies to handle the heat?
We did end up with an ice pool there.
Yeah.
The girls did I'll tell you what, they were busy on the roads back down to St Ives from the showgrounds. I know they did several trips to get ice, particularly went through ice. And then at one stage, they bought like the little kiddies pool and had that full of water. So they were just sort of dunking, like little towels or whatever in that, getting the bag of ice on the shoulders. It wasn't, I generally, I would say it was similar temperatures to MVP.
Right.
And I did think it was a little bit afterwards, but it was sort of like I would come back during the lap. I didn't notice it so much, but I noticed when I stopped running, I'm hot. And then that's it, put those on to cool down. So I think it was like mid-20s. I think I saw maybe it got to 28 at one stage or whatever. But I actually generally enjoy running in those conditions. I think it's that other time we spoke. It's like that sort of temperature I'm generally pretty happy with. But I think it did have an accumulative effect on by the time it was that Monday afternoon you're running around in it, it's going to have more of an accumulative effect than I'd previously experienced.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I haven't run at Sydney's before, so I don't really know much about the course. Can you just describe what the course is like there?
Ultimately, as someone it took a while for me to realise as well, and I heard someone else say it's an out and back. But it probably took me about 5 or 6 hours to realise that you sort of wind your way out around the showgrounds. It's got more twists and turns than a twisty-turny thing. There's a lot of turning back on yourself, cutting back around, down through. And I did hear someone refer to it as a tour to ovals, which is quite apt because there was I know there was I suppose it's a showgrounds, but there's sort of other areas. I think there's like a pony riding club and there's a remote control playing club. So you're going around and past all these. There's like a park area as well, like a climbing park. So, and it's sort of, I suppose from my Sydney knowledge of 4 days, it sort of abuts on like a national park. So it's a pretty nice area. We did have reasonable shade. There was probably a few areas where you're running around like an oval that was also, exposed, but it was, and I suppose the other thing was just a lot of, as much as there was twists and turns, just like a few times you're sort of running down across on a bit of a camber. So there's probably a few of those. So I ended up with a couple of blisters, just sort of around like the, big toe pad sort of thing. So, and I think that was just from, you're going down across that way, going down across this way, that you're just sort of building up probably the heat points in those when you're doing that.
Yeah. So did those blisters cause an issue, or did you just notice them after the race had finished and you took off your shoes or something?
I got them attended to a couple of times. We attended to it once, and then there was a couple of really good sort of first aiders there that they attended to it a couple of times and put some bandages on them. And it wasn't that I was sort of when you feel that warm spot on a lap. Yeah. That's when I got on it and come back and said, we need to do this one now. Yeah. Sort of, I know there can be times when you sort of forget about that, and then all of a sudden, that's really gone beyond. That's really a hot spot now, and something's gone wrong. So I managed to stay on top of them pretty early.
Yeah, good. Now, at around, I think it was around the 30-hour mark, Leanne messaged me and she told me that you were having shaky legs. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah. What was it? 30 would have been. That would have been the afternoon. I think because just getting massages. I think she was massaging my legs, and I think even with it was like physio cream or one of those things. And I think it was just then that was cool, and then she might have rubbed my legs for a few minutes, and then the coolness of that with the breeze. That then I had it was almost like getting goosebumps on my legs, and my legs were feeling cold.
Right.
So that was a little bit like that. I hadn't actually, that's something I hadn't actually experienced before. So the first time, I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I think ultimately that's what I worked out after probably a couple of times on it, that it's like, okay, it's, it's good to have the massage for the legs. And I think it was just because there's a cool substance, you're getting the breeze over it, that was sort of getting a bit of a chill.
Right. Okay. So it didn't end up being anything serious. Was there something different that you just felt for the first time?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, look, the only one I did have a bit of pain around my right knee, or sort of the inside of the right knee. And then I sort of came in and said, I just got a bit of pain there. But then we had got the massage gun, and then just sort of my quads are very tight. There was sort of two little downhills that are probably almost easy to run, but they would have only been 20, 30 metres long. So you wouldn't have think, but I think the accumulation of doing that on the two or either end as going around sort of slowly caught up with the quads. Yeah. So hit them up with a massage gun, and then that sort of came good as well.
Yeah. And I think it was late in the race that this happened. It was around the 50th hour. I got another message from Leanne, and she said that you were looking affected by the heat, and she actually said it looks bad at the moment, and she wasn't sure. I mean, wasn't sure how much she had left in you. So do you remember how you were feeling at that stage of the race?
I think it was around 50. If I go back and look at my slowest lap, I wanted out. I was done.
Yeah.
That was I'd reached a weak point, and I was done. I came back and said, I'm done. I'm tired. I was no tireder, but I was tired. I think my the brain had slipped. And I was like, I'm done. And before, in that week lead up, sort of part of my prep of, there's a few sayings I sort of, got probably stashed in the phone somewhere, and I'd actually written them down in a book. And I told Leanne about it, but we'd never sort of had it as a set, if I'm struggling, go to the book. But she'd seen the book and she'd read a bit of it. And that was at the moment she said, this is where you want to be. These are the moments you want. Like, you want to be in this situation. And I think I was probably, don't tell me that now. Yeah, at the moment, I probably don't tell me that now. I just want to quit. But I know I was out on like the next lap or two, and I'm like, this is where I want to be now. Like, you've done all the effort to get to this point now. Like, you just don't know when these opportunities are going to arise. It's like, this is what you want. This is what you wanted at the start. Like, let's go. So back into, so what was it, 55. So it would have been 50, say 3 onwards. I was on. I'm back. The head was back in the game. But for an hour there, the head was out of the game.
Yeah. How good's that? So it sounds like you had maybe a little bit of a conversation about, don't let me quit, don't let me stop in the chair. No matter what I say, make sure I head back out there.
No, I haven't had that conversation. That's my. I think I said to you last time I was on. That's my own. I've got it's like my own agreement.
Yeah.
That when I sign on, that's it. You got to give your best. So you start every lap possible. You do your best on every lap. A couple of other things, but that's my agreement to me that I have to do that. I can't stop in the chair. It's not going to happen. It's got to be like I did at Mirrim. You got to walk the lap.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If you crawl to the start, then go and right, that's fine. You go and walk the last lap if it takes, doesn't matter how long. But that's my agreement to start every lap possible and give my best on every lap. Yeah. And I jibbed on that for one, and it might have been 1 and a bit laps. But yeah, that reminder brought me, the brain had faded, but the brain came back on. So going around 53, 54, I was back into it. I was back feeling good. Even on 55, I was like, okay, so this is 3 o'clock. Finish this like 3:45. It's getting to 4. My Barry's still going all right. So probably got about 3 more laps, and then we're going to be headlights on. So, okay, just get your head in the game. Think about, don't start jumping too far ahead, but, okay, this is, that's going to be on the cards. So just be, again, mentally prepared that it's headlights on again soon. Just enjoy your daylight hours now.
Yeah, unreal. So Barry Keane, is having a great year. He was the wild dog. He ran 57 yards at Red, like you mentioned, of just a few months ago. And it was just you and Barry out there for a pretty long time. Were you running together or separately or a mix of the two?
We didn't actually speak that much. And I've got a feeling we both might be creatures of habit. I know I am. Once I set myself my little markers, which probably took, I had to guide the first lap because I'm always going to walk the hilly bits. But probably took me 5 maybe laps. Then I had my layout that, right, you run to this tree, you walk to there, you run to there, you walk to there, you get to that point. And I followed that to a T. And I think ultimately it's finding peace in that monotony, but it probably also provides the consistency that my mind's just, okay, the job is to get to there. The job is to then walk to there. The job is to then run to there. So I can find peace in that. I think Barry was running very similar because because you're out and back, there's various times when you're sort of crossing over in a way, and I regularly saw him in the same spot, And I reckon, because I know I ran like 11 minutes and that got me to the first hill, 10 or 11. And I reckon Barry was probably running maybe 5 and that got him to like where this dog park was. And I remember regularly seeing him walk there. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was similar because I think, and I know actually early doors, I remember seeing, I didn't actually know who Barry was for a while anyway too. There's a lot of people there, but I remember seeing what ultimately was Barry when we were coming into the showgrounds similar and I was walking all the showgrounds back. He ran a little bit into the showgrounds and then walked. So, yeah, I got the feeling that he probably ran this very similar sort of style of race.
Yeah. And then I noticed on the live stream around the 51st loop, after you had the little lip, that on the videos of the race, it looked like your whole body language has changed and you were starting the loop like really enthusiastically. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah. There was one I was, I have seen that one because I think it's counting down to the clock, and I was just sort of walking into it, and I was probably half a step ahead of where the clock,
Yeah.
the clock was to where the winner was ready to go. So I spun around, but yeah, I think that just shows like I was back in the game, and feeling good again to keep on going.
Yeah. Did it surprise you when you saw Barry turn back on 55?
It did. So going back to what I was saying, on that lap I'd gone out and we'd probably got to about the 20-minute mark, a little bit earlier. On the course is where I see him. He was a little bit further behind, and I'm like, oh, he's just a little bit further behind. And then I went through to I think it was near the riding horse park or whatever. And again, when I was about to go out of sight, he was a little bit further, and I thought, well, that's not that far. Like, you might have stopped for a toilet break, so that's nothing. And then the last sort of point where I would have seen him, I didn't see him, and it was I've got to done my last little out and back, and he would have been coming up the hill, and I didn't see him, and I'm like, nah, still, he's got time. So that's just finished. And just when I was about to come back into the showgrounds, I could see that Barry was coming back into the showgrounds. So he'd sort of probably got 2/3 of the way through the course and was coming back in there. So, yeah, I came back into the showgrounds. It was just almost elation that everything had sort of come together. Sort of, that's it. Like I said, I'd put a lot of effort into the planning, and you hope that these things all come together, and it had. So I couldn't believe it. Just I said, you've done it. Like, you've done it. I just really, probably maybe like a 400 meters. I probably walked 300 of that and just really tried to, appreciate that moment. And that's it. I think I went to the 100-meter mark. I was like, right, let's bang it. And I was just hopeful that I didn't do a hammy or something. The last little rise of it. That this will be hilarious. But ran in there and got to enjoy it.
You were one of the interstate runners. I don't know how many runners were there from interstate, but you were one of them. So not that many people would have known you. Were people like, who is this guy?
It's funny you say that. So I ran on the first lap and I was caught behind a lot of people because it was just so crowded, and I was like, I don't want to get to my pace. So finally got to my pace and I ran alongside. I think it might have been Gray, and then he was going, oh, how you going? Yeah, good. Yeah, not coming from Victoria. Well, yeah, Ross Graham, nice to meet you. He goes, McLean? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, apparently you're meant to go all right up here. I'm like, well, how do you know me? Like, I didn't get on the Instagram post with the other bikes. I'm just here under the radar. So, but someone knew, but I don't know. No, ultimately, I don't actually get a lot of time to walk because of the way my pace. You sort of know I'm generally up the front and sort of go about my own thing. So I generally don't actually have a lot of time talking with other people either. So no, as to whether they knew me or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone did, because I told this guy in the first lap that I was meant to go all right. So
yeah. Barry turned back on 55. Did you speak to him afterwards and find out what got him in the end?
We did have a brief chat. We did have a brief chat. I apologise to Barry if I get in because I just feel my cognitive wasn't going so well post run, but I think the body was just starting to fail. I think he was having a bit of issues with cramps and whatnot. So I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And what did it feel like? I mean, you kind of mentioned at the last question, like, what did it feel like on that 55th yard coming back, knowing that you were the last one standing?
It was just elation, like, really, like, I suppose that was it. Like, I'd sort of put it out there, not the presses or anything, but I'd sort of said to people, like, I'm going to Sydney next week. I'm going to do it. I said, how long are you going for? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm going, like, I'll either win it or I'll go down in flames. Like, I'm prepared to do it. I honestly thought when I saw like Steve Redfern and Barry was up there, I think the last two guys I spoke to at work, and they said, "Oh, what do you reckon?" I said, "Well, I reckon it's going to start with a 7." I just honestly thought it would start with a 7 to win that. Whether I could get to the 7, I didn't know. That's it. It was going to be new ground for me. But I sort of figured, why not? The same thing. Why not? I'd give it a crack.
Yeah.
But I suppose it was just the elation that all that work had paid off. I suppose I could, again, go back to Mirrim, like I could still walk away from that happy with 15. If I had run myself into the ground and someone else won it, whatever yard, and I'd still achieve that. I'll still be happy with that. But it's probably like the little cherry on top bonus to have that, be the last one standing.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't think these opportunities really going to come, too often to have that opportunity to do it. So yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah. I mean, they're very, very hard races to win, and you've won 2 of them now. I mean, that's not many people win any.
No, that's right. Yeah, and I've sort of been really, it's pretty amazing from my own perspective to have been lucky enough to actually have, been the last one standing twice. It's amazing.
As the race was going on, and it was and you were becoming like one of the fewer runners left, were you getting more and more messages from people giving support?
There was a hell of a lot of support. A lot. Eve, I say she's in charge of socials and communications and all that. And so there's various times, do you want, if I had a bit of time, do you want to hear some messages? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So she was reading those out. That's it. Between like friends, I had people at work. One of the guys at work had sort of emailed everyone, and on the Sunday afternoon saying, Roscoe's at it. Here's the stream. So I was getting from work. I was getting from my sort of close circle of mates. They're sending me videos as well. Just willing me to push on more. The backyard community, between yourself, a lot of those guys that did that first MVP, that's, getting messages from them. Like I know Tim said, one of the did, like Tim was like, Tim Kay, who's on his way to Perth at the moment. But he's like, keep going, don't stop. And one of his message was probably, it's along my like the little sayings I'd written down, but it might hurt to go an extra yard. It's going to hurt a hell of a lot more to pull the pin now. I said, keep going. He goes, you can take the Vic record. I'll be happy for you to do it. Just keep going. So the support's unreal. Like, it's, again, going back, this is what backyards are so good about. Yeah. Like, whether it's all the cheering, at lap 4 or 5 at Sydney, when you've got 200 plus people cheering on someone to come over in 59 and go, right, come on, go again. That's exactly the same. Like, everyone wants the best for everyone else. Like, they want to see you go, they want to see everyone go further and push themselves than before. Well, this format's, that's what's so good about it.
Yeah. You kind of answered this question before, but the time the race finished, it would have been near where the sun was starting to go down, the temperature was close to starting to drop. Were you mentally prepared to run through another night?
So I just started thinking about that.
Yeah.
On that 55, because I still thought Barry was, like I said, he was a little bit behind, but I still thought he was looking good. So I'm like, okay, just prepare. It's going to be headlights for the 3rd night, and in a way, that's pretty exciting because I hadn't done 2 nights, and I'm like, holy shit, we could do 3.
Yeah,
that'd be an even better story.
Yeah. So you mentioned the moment in the race earlier where you where you wanted to stop. To me, that kind of feels like there was kind of like a mental line that you had to cross, that perhaps was the first time you've ever had to cross a line like that in a backyard ultra before. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say it would. Yep. Yeah. In that position, yep. I think I learned. I'll go back to that first one when I think Tim again. I'll give another shout out, but he, at whatever it was, the lap before I pulled out, he came in, he was feeling cooked, and he's like, oh, I'm done. And his kids are like, do one more, do one more. And he did one more, and he came back in, and he's like, I'm feeling really good now. And I'm in my chair going, well, I don't feel any better. I'm like, what are you, Jesus? And then I stopped. So in this position to be, it's a different mental position to be in. Yeah, I'm just grateful that I actually managed to. Yeah, it would have been really easy to, if I didn't have someone there, like, man, in that position there to say, hey, this is what you want. Like, it would have been, and if I could have had a crew member that goes, yeah, hey, you fucking done ace. Like, you'd have done 55, or if you've done 50, like, that's pretty impressive. Like, you can pull the pin now.
Yeah.
So you need an enabler, We need people to go, no, you've done really well, but you need to do better. You need to keep going. So I think as backyard runners, we need those people in our life that enable us to push through further.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you've definitely got a stronger mind. You've grown a stronger mindset over the last 2 or 3 years since that first MVP you ran. Well, what type of work have you done on your mindset and to get to where you are from where you were to where you are now?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that I've done anything in particular. I think I've just grown a lot in the last couple of years personally. And whether that's come as a result of that, I'm not sure. Like I am very driven in general. I think even go back to those other times I was driven. I think it's probably, maybe it's just the lessons learned over those other ones, to then sort of say, this is what it requires. You watch the guy, you watch other guys and watch other runners, and you sort of go, well, this is what's required. You need to, that's it, yeah. Like, I'm a stubborn bastard, like, I know that. But with work and things like that, I'm just can be really stubborn. So I think that's an element of it as well, that, you've just got to grind away. So be prepared to grind away. That's where it comes from. It's not, that's not one of the things I thought about probably recently. Like, I know there can be at times, even with Instagram and certain people, and that can be a bit rah, come on, let's go, listen to shit. And to me, that doesn't, personally to me, that doesn't do anything. Like, there's no motivation in yelling or anything like that to me. My motivation is just to drive. It's like, right, let's grind. This is hard work, but you want to do hard work. Like, this is what, the results you want are at the end of the hard work. So, put the bit between the teeth, do the hard work, and that's going to take you to where you want to go.
Yeah, awesome. So how did you pull up, and how's the recovery going?
The recovery's pretty good. Look, I think every day you start the next day like the Tin Man, much like you start most of those laps after, I don't know, what, 30 plus, you're generally pretty tinny. One toenail paid the price. I'm not 100%. I think I did something. I think I kicked something in a night loop. I can't exactly remember. But it wasn't a pretty sight when I changed the socks and shoes during the run or whatever, but when I took it off at the end, I was like, oh, that's pretty fierce. That's pretty funky. Yeah. So I paid the price with that. Other than that, it's been reasonably well. I sort of saw the osteo today, and he said, you're actually in pretty good nick, and just shook his head and said, good luck in November. So on Saturday I ran 3, Sunday 5, 8, 5 today. So I'm back rolling it out. I'll keep doing that slowly for a little bit longer and try and prepare myself for some hills in November.
Yeah. So you've got King of the Hill in November. Have you looked ahead at next year and started mapping out any backyard ultra races yet?
No, we sort of talked about it on the way home, to start looking, but I said, we'll get November out of the way, so clear the decks, because there'll be nothing else. I don't think I'll do anything. I did look at the Trails Plus one in December. That is it the Race the Clock?
Oh, Rock Around the Clock.
Oh no, the other's one in like mid-November where like it's 2Ks and you've got like 15 minutes and it gradually comes down.
The Last Legend.
Their Last Legend, there you go.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept as well, but I think I probably just need to take December off. And as for next year, no, I haven't. In the same thing we spoke about in the car, we really enjoyed that road trip up to Sydney. That was quite good fun. You know, was really well organised event. The 180 cadence guys were brilliant. You know, we had a great time. And that's similar everywhere as well. But I don't know, potentially a road trip to Adelaide is probably the next thing. I've done Queensland, I've done New South Wales, done Melbourne. So a road trip to Adelaide is somewhat enticing. So I think you had Sean on the other week. So I think, does Sean do both Adelaide ones or a couple of Adelaide?
Yeah. No Time to Die is the one in Adelaide, and that's in May.
Oh, that's actually because the other one was out further, wasn't it? When you went.
That one, the Hysterical Carnage. That one's actually finished now. They're not. That one's not being run anymore.
Oh, okay.
So it's
maybe no time. Maybe No Time to Die. Potentially, if you go to Adelaide. But I haven't. Cleared the decks and then look to see what opens up.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it sounds like you don't. Maybe if I say MVP to you, it's just you don't know. You know.
No, I don't know. I think I'll always have a soft spot for MVP. I do enjoy it. Whether it was twice as a runner and once as a faux commentator.
Yeah, that was awesome how you did that.
Look, I was missing out, so I made do.
Yeah. And what about defending your title at Sydney's?
That's. I think the boys mentioned that up there that you have to come back in April and they want a chance to take it off the Victorian. So, again, that'd be nice. But we're probably going to head up to Sydney in November and actually do a run with those guys from 180 Cadence, actually. So, do a run around, sort of bit of a run around the harbour. I won't say yes or no to anything at the moment.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, sure. Now, the 55 yards, it definitely opens up doors, including free entry into the Masters at Dead Cow Gully next year. So, have you thought about that one?
No, I haven't actually. So that's it was a very good event. The field he's put together is nothing short of amazing. So what Tim's done for backyards, I think in Australia is just second to none. That's again. So what I think sort of someone mentioned maybe up in Sydney that the entry fees went up, but he's brought out all these people. So that's a pretty amazing opportunity for Australian backyard runners. The fact to try and go. For anyone from Australia to try and go overseas would be a monumental cost. To bring the likes of those guys out, that's amazing. Let's just say when I get the calendar out and the crystal ball in December, it'll be on the list.
Yeah. Now we'll have to wait and see what happens at the Sat Champs next week, but the 55 yards definitely puts you in the equation for the Australian team in 26. Are you going to make that a goal?
Do you think it does that?
I think it will get you close to the team. It definitely puts you in the equation. I mean, you were the last one standing, so we know that you've got more in you. So if you do want to run on that team, I mean, you can try and make it.
Yes. Yeah, there is that. Look, it does definitely put you in a picture. Ultimately, though, I think there are 15 people. If they aren't in Perth already, they'll be in Perth in the next whatever. And I reckon there's going to be 15 people that are probably going to be having a number with a 6, if not a 7, as a minimum to their name. So I think they'll fill up the most of the spots initially.
Yeah.
I think there is definitely runners that will also go and then chase that. You clearly seem like, obviously people have set out with targets. I think that's basically what Joel and sort of Johan did over in Adelaide. I think it's what Jonathan did in Sydney as well. You know, there's a number there. So it's an early target. I think it's a target.
Yeah.
I think if I managed to be sitting there in that 15, I would think it'd be down low, and I reckon I would have a target on my back, which is great. So that's great because that means someone else is going to go and, you know, chase big numbers. If things go well, what is it? So there's no silver. When are the silver tickets? I don't even. Is that next year or?
Yeah, well, they haven't been announced yet. There might be one at the end of this year, but most of them will probably be next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. One of them might be next year, but most of them will be in 26 before the.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Look, it'd be great. Like I said, I wanted that was part of to chase at Mirrim. I would have been great. I think everyone would love to, much like yourself. Everyone would love the opportunity to take it on in that format as a team. You know, as an Australian team, would be amazing. So whether it's a silver ticket, potentially target one of those, I'd still like the opportunity to. That's it. Hit a good field with a couple of runners and go deep again. 55 plus. Yeah, I still want to go further. Ultimately, yes.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about backyard ultras, Ross, is you have people who are older than me doing amazing things. I mean, you're older than me. I think you're 50 and you've just done 55. We've got runners older than you who have gone further than you. So watching these older runners, do they give you inspiration? I mean, because people like you give me inspiration. Like, do you get inspiration from the older runners who are doing so well as well?
Yeah, I think this is it. This is the format for it. This is, you know, you're probably not going to catch too many 50-plus-year-old blokes running, you know, really fast marathons. Those days are done. Can we run? We can run till days. That's our strength now. I think that's ultimately you turn into an old man, you get older, and that's the strength is you can run for longer, not faster.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that's it. I'll be like I think this weekend's exciting to see what's going to come out of this. Like it's more and more, everyone's more and more aware of it. I think it was only that, like you're talking the other day, it was only that previous one, like maybe 2 years ago, where it wasn't that well-known format. Everyone knows this format now, you know, but it's more pronounced now. So I think it's really exciting. I think big things are going to come out of that, and I think the next batch of numbers for the Australian team. I think I was listening to preview this morning just to the first hour, and it's like the yards that, you know, we're doing out here would get us into so many other teams.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing that the caliber of runners we've got here that are out doing these huge numbers. So the sky's still the limit.
Yeah. So you've improved so much in the last few years, and you would have learned a lot during that time. Well, you obviously have. I mean, you've gone all the way to 55 yards, which is awesome. So I reckon you will have a few tips to share. What are your 3 backyard ultra tips?
Excellent. I was surprised you asked, but I did make some notes because I respected the questions, and I wanted to pay it a reasonable take the time to actually put some decent thought to it. So this was probably one that came, particularly for Sydney, was take time to prepare, and that's other than physically. I think everyone does all the physical work, everyone's doing all the running, but I think you need to respect the work you've done there by spending time getting ready. So this is the first time I put together a plan. Now, maybe it's just a hashed out plan, and maybe you use it as a guide. But if you're going to have a crew there, give that, even that as a guide for them. It's going to give them something. So the less you have to think when you come into camp, it's going to make, you know, every little bit is a conservation of energy. So that sort of prepares you as well. Then it prepares you mentally, having that plan that you've got things in place. So that's my number one. My number 2 is, and I will contradict the previous things that I have said here, so I'm aware of this. When I've said like things like I was starting to think about the headlights coming ahead, but I say be present and live in the moment. I think at times it's pretty easy to drift off and start thinking about, oh, look, that person's thinking they're not looking great, or they're doing, you're getting caught up in other things. So be present about what you can do and what you can control. You can't control what other people do or whatever else happens. So you can control your nutrition, your hydration, your rest, control those things, and just, be present, be aware of your body in the moment. Okay, I'm going through this. Okay, I'm feeling a niggle here or that there. Okay, what's that from? Just don't hit the panic button. Just work your way through it. Okay, here's what I know now, so I can control this now. Let's do that now. And my third one actually took me a while because I was trying to think of something different, but then it came up in discussions today, was to embrace the difficulty. And that's probably take my own advice here, because that's it. I tried to skip the difficulty at like 50 something, but embrace it, because I think ultimately we're all pushing, all backyarders are probably pushing for further than we've all ever done before. Now, that's going to have difficulties. So be prepared that, you know what, it's going to hurt. Yeah, it does. It's okay. It is. Hey, I'm hurting. That's right. Yeah, because I expected this. So that's part of your journey to getting to where you want to be. So if you want to be further, okay, that's hard work's part of it. It's going to be hurt. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be sweaty and all these things. That's part of getting to your new ground. And ultimately, I think that's where backyard runners want to get to. They want to get to, you see heaps of people signing up for Sydney now. They go, all right, I'm going further now. I'm going further. So that's it. Okay, you want to go further? Okay, it's going to suck. It's going to hurt at times, righto, but just be prepared for it. When it comes, here it is. This is the time I was been waiting for. Great, because I've waited and I've done all the preparation in the lead up. Here's the moment. Now I can actually get through this moment. Growth's on the other side of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's unreal. I love it. Well, I mean, you've done such a good job. I knew you would do well at Sydney's, but to do 55 yards and to finish with the last one standing, I was so happy for you.
I could tell in the messages we received from you, Pato. It was, I know there were messages, but I could hear your excitement in those messages. So thank you. Yeah. Thanks for your help for being on phone to the crew with Leanne to provide advice. Like I said, that's the sort of support and the sort of things that make this so good.
Yeah, no worries. Well, don't go anywhere. I'll hit stop on the record, but well done again. It was awesome following along. I'm looking forward to seeing what else you do. All the best at that hardcore Harry's King of the Hill. And, I'm looking forward to hopefully running against you in a race soon.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
Cheers, Pato.
All right, see you, Ross.
See you.